This is where trouble starts. You just met this new group and they are what feels like an interrogation. Now that's why you gotta be careful, because you don't want to give them too much, you don't want to give them too little, otherwise the trade won't take place. But also you gotta have your doubts about why they're interrogating you. Is it for their safety, or is it for so that they can So survivors are Miss Lee, the survivor of the group, one of the many survivors who are trying to keep the group alive through the needs of food. So survivors are Miss Lee, the group, one of the many survivors who are trying to keep the group alive through the needs of food, shelter, security. So survivors are Miss Lee, the survivor of the group, one of the many survivors who are trying to keep the group alive through the needs of food, shelter, security, even risking on life and limb by going outside. Mark, on the other hand, who's eager to help, who's a rando who we do not know, who has just recently appeared over a few months ago. This can be a good thing, seeing how he wants to help. Next up is Lily, who seems to be self-obsessed of becoming the leader of the group. Now she wants to become a leader, but she's gone about it in the wrong way, in a controlling manner. But it's because of her military background, which her father was in, and she does not want to disappoint her father. So this is one of many reasons she's this way. She could be a good leader if she went about it the right way, but she has not so far, seen how they're dealing with a force of a different nature. Kenny, who is only thinking about his family and maybe his friends. If you're on his side, he will side with you. Now this goes about it if you decide to side with him in the future and past, and he will be there for you in the future. Now if he loses one of his kids or wife, he may go the opposite direction and go against you. So we got Katya, who is a horse or animal surgeon, medical person. Now she can work on humans too, but they also have a somewhat different biology of your body. So she's always willing to help, providing her kids are there, her kid Duck is alive, and her husband is there to help. The spirit of the group, the optimistic group, which actually kept me there. Well, she's there. She's only in a good mood and happy and healthy, only because of Mr. Lee, and she's still thinking about her parents, even though they are, dead. But we'll go about. She doesn't know this yet. Duck, one of Kenny and Katya's kids, who is oblivious to the fact that they are surrounded by the dead and they could die at any moment. This can be a good thing and a bad thing until shit the fan, you could say. We got Larry, the grumpy old man, who thinks once you're a criminal, you're always a criminal and you're a bad dude. I guess he grew up with bad parents, family, I don't know. Maybe this could be one of the main this will be one of your downfalls, or it could be one of your upfalls. Then we got Carly, our reporter, our gal, you can say, who is there to help us, genuinely help with a gun, which she's trained with. And then you got Doug. Now if you chose the other ending where Carly died, then you get Doug as a character instead of Carly. Doug is a good dude. He's very much like Carly. He wants to stay and help. He's skilled at electronics, traps. He's going to leave, and he's forced to leave. And you could say that's a good thing. Alright. So with the remaining survivors that are left, we got Mr. Lee, and with food becoming scarce in the group, food. So we're gonna be trying to get ourselves some rabbit here, but as what to be expected as what's to be expected as is zombies will either take your food, or the bandits or the evil outside will be taking your food. And we got ourselves a new guy, a Randall, who recently joined the group, other than the last episode, who he was not with. And his name is Mark, he's eager to help, and there's no ill intent towards the group at this moment in time. One of the most dangerous places to be in the wilderness is, well, even before the apocalypse happened, it was always unsafe to go into the wilderness alone. You never know the wild animals or even bad people there are, but after the apocalypse there can still be bad people, animals, zombies, but you gotta be wary of new groups such as this. But these people from the very spot on, from the very beginning, you already know they're good people. Good kids at this point. They look like good kids, and they have no weapons at this point. So they can be good to the group, but at the very beginning, like as of now, they are not gonna be any good. But later on, they could be useful. Obviously, you got at this moment in time, the college kids or high school kids are scared. Well, of course, they're looking at another group opposite them that has guns, so we say. So that in anyone's situation, it's going to be like that. Now there's two choices here you can do. You could help the guy with the chain. I mean, realistically, the chain, depending, you can always take the lock off, the hatch off, and the wire chain is always long or short, depending how you go about it. But with the fighting skills they have towards the dead, this is kind of a time frame thing where you gotta rush, get out there, otherwise you attract more and more. Now the best thing you could do here is, well, amputating his foot. What you could have done here was stuck the axe in between the claws where his leg is, and then rotated the axe in order to get it unlock the hatch. But I think with it being set on deadlocked, it's gonna be near impossible to unlock. So the only option would be to, well, chop his leg off. Now, there's two options you could have done about this. You could have helped him by chopping his leg off, or leave him there to be. The other choice will be at the end, or the second and third choices of this episode will be near the end, so you can catch up and see it there. As for what that kid done, which is a stupid idea, because you never want to grab the gun while it's pointed at you. That's one of the stupid things to do. But let's move on to returning. So your camp, or our camp, so we say, is basically defense. It has its great defense, its walls, seeing how the zombies, high numbers of zombies are not that high yet. There's not really run into any bad guys yet, and your only enemy at this point is food. Now, at the moment, all the people are content. The children are happy and occupied. You got your sentry on duty, your ex-military woman who has experience. You got the good people you can trust, like Carly or Doug or Kenny, depending, but they all have their own problems. Kenny's thinking about his family and how they're going to survive, whether in the group or not in the group. You got Carly thinking about the group. You got Lily more so thinking about controlling the group. And you got the kids being occupied. You also got Katya, who's the medical doctor for well, mostly animals, but she can also work for humans. Lily also has her reasons for letting any new people into the group, because she knows what happens when you let people into the group. They can turn on you, they can go against you, they can help you. So it's really a tough choice on what to do. So you always gotta quarantine them, scan them, question them. And she doesn't always be in charge, because you have to make decisions, which is why she decided to bring on the responsibilities towards you, Lee, me. So the tough decision of the candy, which is the last lot of it, and in my personal experience, I think you should just, I don't know, cut the candy bars into half and then share it out that way. And you can't exactly give it to all the children, because even though you don't want the children starving, you also need the strength of the adults, the children protected. So it's really a tough decision. But I think you should just like cut the candy in half, even though it won't be enough, but it'll be enough energy just to get you through the day, so you can keep action. As it goes with parents, the parents will want the candy or the food unless their young ones have been fed first, which is obvious reasons. Even I would do that as well. You think they learn from their previous experience, or with what they know about the dead, is that once you only become one, but we still haven't learned about that. So what they should be doing is locking them down, tying them down, even if you're hurt, injured, bitten, or even new to the group, just in case. Safety first. I really wanted to see what would happen if I didn't continue pressing the button, just to see if anyone would help me, and it turned out no one would help me in time, so dun dun dun, dead. And who's our gal to the rescue? Our gal, Carly, because the old man, I forgot his name now, but Lily's dad, he's not much of a help, in that, well, he wouldn't be much of a help, seeing how he wants you dead, because you're a criminal, is how he sees it. More often than not, you're going to come across groups, well, bad groups, because the good people will be wary of you, or any groups out there, because they know bad people and good people, but they'd be wary to get so close. So it's the bad people 90% of the time who would make their way towards you, towards that group, because they ain't from you. But in this case, we can exchange goods, so maybe that's why they're so brave. Because we have something they want, we have something they want our fuel, we want their food. I mean, it sounds like a good deal, but sometimes it sounds too good to be true, but sometimes it is good to be true. But then you come across, we'll get to that a bit later. This is where trouble starts. You just met this new group, and they are what feels like an interrogation. Now that's why you gotta be careful, because you don't want to give them too much, you don't want to give them too little, otherwise the trade won't take place. But also you gotta have your doubts about why they're interrogating you. Is it for their safety, or is it for so that they can hit you back later or do something to your group? So dudes are shifty from the very start, just from their eyes. It looks like they ain't had no sleep. Maybe they've been working all night to shift up defences for their home. But from that interrogation, it's really put my doubts aside and thinking they got another agenda here. They want to try something with this group. They want to try something with our group, our lead group. Clementine, Carly, Lily, Doug. But with them ducking down with the bandits in sight, this could be a ploy for them. The truth you're thinking and not with the bandits. Or maybe not, but it could be not with the bandits, even though the bandits are the bad dude in this case. They just killed someone. For what purpose? We don't know. It could be anything as little as taking something from them, or just simply taking someone from them. Or just or the worst case scenario, for fun. Now, for obvious reasons, when you come across a new group, you don't want to follow them because you don't know where you're going. But since we're desperate for food and they're desperate for fuel, you should always have a scout, someone to trail you in the backwoods, and another scout behind that scout in case that one's being followed. That's just if you have the numbers. But all is looking good so far. You got electrical fences. You got food growing, corn from the looks of it. Then you got another shifty carrot coming out, all nice and goody. Like, that's one of the bad things. If they're too kind to you, then without any worry or any questions, then they're gonna have, it's kind of you're gonna have to start thinking about why aren't they asking these questions? Is it because they have something in store for you later? Or simply they haven't run into anyone like you before, or another group before. But again, her eyes, her face, they all look shifty to me, so I have my doubts. Always send a group back or a couple scouts back, just to in case something happens to this group, because you're staying here for a while they gather the food. So if something happens to you, something can happen to them. Retaliation will ensure. Alright, so one of the brothers of the farm has asked you for help to secure the fencing. It's always nice to help them, but you should always have them out there with you helping them, because if something goes wrong, it won't be just to you, it'll be to the defenders of the group, like just what happened here. The moment you fix something, you can't get back over. Once you fixed it, which you're now trapped on the other side, which is why you should always never go onto the opposite side, because you have no cover, no protection, just in case, like these bandits have found a way to get you trapped. And you can't really get back over the fence because one of the brother has decided to turn the electric fence on. So you're stuck between the bad guys, or who seems to be the bad guys, and the defenders, which is the brothers on the farm and the mother. So the only hope here is to go about it alone with your own friend Mark, and move this heavy ass tractor, which is going to get stuck in the way because of the zombies. So bad on all sides. Now you also got to listen because the bandits seem to have some really words here. If you listen to their words, which they now you got to listen to bandits, and it's basically gave you all the information you needed in order to trust the farmers, because they basically had an agreement with the farmers and they want you dead. Now you got to think, what did the farmers do? Did they not give you the food? Or another scenario, did they do something to your people? So you got to have at least just raise the suspicion level way above than normal, way above than higher than normal. So you should be on alert here, but you also don't want to put too much out there, because they could just pop you off right here and now if they think you're too suspicious, which is even worse. The whole group has arrived now, so now we've got to try and convince, you know. Also, when you got an injured party member, never leave them alone with the strangers, and stay with them 24/7, even if you're in a switch buddy system. Just do not leave them. Pronto. Now, it's reasonable for the farmers not to give you any information about the bandits, because you just met them and they don't want to make you run away, but it would have been nice to have the information firsthand, so that you know what to expect and let trust build. But now that, in my opinion, trust has broken down, because one of our members have got injured and they told us information after this. My doubts are, I don't trust them. Pronto. So we ran into one of the people who seems to be a bandit, but I don't think she's a bandit, because they covered their faces. They would cover their faces, and they would never be alone. So I've seen how she's a female and there's no men about or other people, females in this. Normally they're with a child, but she's missing a child. And seeing how she's saying it was stolen, this makes me think either the bandits or the farmers stole her child. What is more suspicious is what you're about to find out is out the window, where the farmers are the bad guys, because who in the right mind would shoot her when she is trying to give some valuable information right there? She was going to give away some secrets that he, the farmer, did not want you to know about. And we'll get to that later, otherwise it'll ruin the spoiler, but this is where you should not trust him at all. He just killed her on the bloody spot for information that he did not want out of her mouth. So, obviously in my mind, this is bad dudes. Don't trust them, don't get near them, get your people out of there. Or, chuck them out of there, get the food and get out of there. Now we can't exactly leave just yet, because who's going to listen to you? Maybe a few of your group members will listen to you, as you're still trying to build trust with some of them. But at this point, you're going to have to stay, or it'd be hearsay at this point. But you also got your doctor, Katya, who is a veterinarian, who's here to help the dying cow, their only last dying cow. Now my suspicion is this cow's dying because of the infected water the infected water source that she's drinking, now there's many reasons the water source would be infected. That'd be with the dead in the water source, or the bad food they're giving her, or the bad stuff they're growing, like the soil's gone bad, infected, and she's eating it and the body can't take it, so she ends up dying. Plus, I haven't seen any aminal zombies. this is where Kenny has his suspicions too. So you've got someone on your side because you have your doubts, he has his doubts, he has a family to protect. But you have to be careful about it, because if you make too much noise or get seen in areas that you shouldn't be allowed, then you could either get chucked off the farm under false pretense because you find something and then it turns out to be nothing, and you ruins the relationship. But you know you're going to find something that's going to make you want to break that new relationship you just made with the... thing that could be evil, bad, it could be good, something that they don't want us to know, but we know something that they don't want to tell us is going on. So the best way to go about it is to go about their defences, disrupt the defences that they will find out, so that they end up repairing it, fixing it, so you can go snooping around. And we don't really want to get... You don't really want to get caught, because if it turns out to be nothing, they may forgive you. If it actually, if they're actually really good people, if it turns out to be nothing and you find something about them, then around 99% of the time they'll let it go. But if it's the bad dudes, they're not going to let it go. You know what I was saying earlier, where if you got an injured buddy, like injured family member or someone, and you goes to a rando or a different group, you want to stick with the other medic, or even if showing some trust into them, because you never know the case, and then something even worse could happen, like you could lose them. Well, this is one area. Now you can see that they have chopped them up for meat, but for obvious reasons they kept them alive, because if you kill your prey, the meat becomes tainted, the blood becomes rigged, where the blood becomes thickened and tainted, then you wouldn't want to eat it. And one thing you could say about this is that they've been at it for a while. This is not a one-time thing. They've been at it on more than one, these 3, 4, 5, maybe more times. So this cannibalism is something normal to them, something that they would do to thrive, even though they got food growing outside like corn, maize, well, that's all, and a dying cow, no other animals about. Now this is a tough option. You could have grabbed a gun, or you could have told her no at the same time, but you could have grabbed a gun and all the people at the table would have stopped eating at that point. You would have seen how we said no, and then the bad guys have the gun. You're kind of between a rock and a hard place, you could say, because you are now being captured. You are now so you're now their meat for later. So what can you do about it at this point? Not really much. You got the guns pointed at you and you're going to have to accept it. Maybe you can get out of it later, but if you try anything at this point, one or more of you are going to die, get injured, or even worse, what's worse than that, I don't know, become undead and then feast on your friends. You know how I mentioned it earlier, where you got angry people, tempered people who always raise their voice higher than it normally is, like to the anger. Now, depending on your age, you're most likely to be fine, but the older you get, the greater the stress on your heart. Now, what's worse, so if you are taking medicine for those heart, then you're most likely going to have what happened here to Lily's dad, Larry, who had... Now, the bad thing about this is being trapped in a fridge or freezer with a dead man. There's no coming back from this. Maybe you have had a defibrillator, you would have a great chance on reviving them. But at this point, CRT or CPT, chest pressure, is not going to work. Kenny kind of had the right idea, because this is like come back from the dead, munching on all of you in a matter of hours or a matter of minutes. It varies from person to person. Now, she's gonna end up hating, depending on what choice you make here, she's gonna end up hating Kenny, which did the right thing, or end up hating you for doing what Kenny did. But you can also have no option, not until he will still do it, and Lily will still understand. Remember, the second and third choices for this will be shown towards the end. You'd think that'd be big enough for Lily, but Lily's kind of in a sorrow mood at the moment, where she just is grieving over her dad, so she's going to be in no mood to help. But it's also a risky move to send in a kid, because especially if you end up losing Clementine, even worse, you're not going to get out of there. Best case scenario is to get out of there in the hope form of that Noah one's on the other side and unlocks it for you. Now that we've got the farmer, the bad dude, trapped, cornered, one of his own trapped for him, which sometimes is good for you, especially when the traps turn on the trapper. But also depending what you make in this, you can kill him or you can not kill him. And if you want to show a bad example for Clem, giving little mercy to those that wronged her in the future, or you can spare him, giving her hope and mercy in the future. Now what you got here is the bad dude, farmer, I think he's Ben or something, I don't remember the bad dude's names as much. But he's trying to justify his reasons for killing and eating people, which we all know they always make up their reasons, don't they? But yeah, you could have went about this in many different ways. And our backup has arrived. Our scouts always have some more people back at your home base so that they can check up on you later in case stuff goes wrong, which it has gone wrong. Every time you join a new group or visit a new group, you always want your own people on the outside base to keep an eye on stuff in case it goes awry. So you got support now with guns, so you're in good hands for now, but you're still trapped between the wired defences. How to deal with someone when they have a gun? Well, that's simple. If the gun's pointing at you, try not to move too much towards them. When it's away from you, make your way forward, convince them, talk them down. That's one of the best way to go about it. Now what makes me think Brenda didn't want to do all this in the beginning is because she wanted to kill you. If she wanted to kill you on the group, she would have done so already. So obviously she doesn't like the choices she has made. So in my book, she's just a person who did what she had to do, but was it her idea or was it her son's idea? And I mentioned about family man. Well, that is what a family man would do. They would charge impulsively towards the enemy because they have their kid, which is never a smart thing to do, but it's in your nature to charge towards someone when they are holding your kid hostage. Like, even though you got 3 or 4 people who are still near you, they could have helped you, but in the confusion, they're trying to help Kenny, who was recently shot, and Carly, who's only good for shooting, but she could have came up behind him, gave him a good whack, the karate on the back. But it all turned out fine. We got the strength, pulled him back. Well, League pulled him back. Then we pummeled him over and over just to keep him down. He's a big heavy dude, so you gotta do more than one punch into him. So we found a bunch of food, like 4 or 5 boxes, more than enough food to last us a good month or so. But we could have left half of it here, that would have been nice. Again, these choices, you can choose to take part into it. You can choose to take it all, or you can choose to not take any at all. Again, an example for Clementine. And Kenny's not really shown a good example for Duck, and the other females did not get involved in any way, in leaving any, not even a scrap. I mean, they could have left something there. Now, they even knew that this vehicle had clothes of kids, so they know a kid was involved here, and they had no thought of leaving anything for them. So imagine if they were in a situation where their car and their stuff got lost, and they were to return to it later, and it was nothing there. Alright, so we're back in the forest where we decided to leave the coach, the teacher, on the ground, trapped, but in this choice we decided to chop his leg off, which it could have saved his life, but the way you go about it is when you chop or amputate someone's leg or arm, you want to keep their amputated part of the body, limb, up in the air to keep the flow of the blood from coming out, or even better yet, tie a belt around it, or a shirt, something that will keep it up. You've got to keep leg or arm elevated, and this will give them a great chance of survival. When in the fridge, you get to choose. Well, there's actually 3 choices: side with Kenny, Lily, or choose nothing. Now you can clearly see that Kenny did not want to do it, but he also didn't want to be trapped or killed in the process of Larry, who's a douche or angry person. This is where you set a bad example for Clementine by simply showing no mercy, even though I think he deserved it for killing all those people, because if you didn't stop him, he could have carried on doing it to other people. I am going to have to check back on this, but this would be the other scenario where you get to choose to kick him into the fence, where he then set off a high voltage of electricity running through his body, which then overloads the engine, the wires, the voltage, etc. So let's take a recap. What happened? We found a group. They came to us, which is 99% of the time is a bad thing. A good group who finds another group would more than likely sit back and watch that group, send a couple in, and others be on the sideline watching to see what happens. The bad dudes will more than likely do the same thing, but they'd be more bolded to just go up there all good and friendly like the good people. And what happened? We found a group, we went to their homes, they end up turning to be bad people. We lost two members of. We lost Larry and we lost Mark. But we did take out some bad dudes. We took out the farmers, which I believe is Ben, Brenda, and the third dude. So again, wary of groups. And our group has now learned to be wary of groups as well. So they'll take more caution into meeting new groups or new people. Even single people that you come across can be dangerous. It's the loners that you find that can be 90, maybe 80% of the time bad, because there's a reason they're alone.